Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with Conspicuous. We have got a bit of a Christmas special going on, hence the really leery jumpers going on. And we are going to have a little catch up with Conspicuous for Christmas, a lot of Caesar, with Nico, who is UK director, and Alex, US
Hello.
director, and just me, the podcast host. But I thought it'd be good. We've had such an amazing year of guests who have come from all over the world, so many different backgrounds, so many different passions and topics, and it's been such a phenomenal year for the podcast. I would say it's been, it's really taken off, and we're super proud that we're booked up until June 2025. So if anyone's wanting to come on, there is a little bit of a wait, but it's for all good reasons, clearly. So we thought we'd wrap up the year just with an overview of how the market's been, what's been going on, what we predict will happen. Don't take anything for gospel because we can never predict anything. We thought this year would be a bit better than it was.
Unfortunately.
But obviously, just from your guys' perspective, if you would sort of, we'll start with you, Alex, but if you would sort of summarize this year in one sentence, how would you summarize it?
It's been a bit of a fire.
Yeah. It has.
No, it's been. I was saying earlier, it's also some scars from this year. I think there's not necessarily scars, but lessons. So I think it's just been a really difficult year. And so firstly on the podcast thing, thanks for everyone for coming on. Like always, really great to have people passionate about dynamics. It's been wonderful to speak to so many people on such a range of topics, and that's been brilliant. And long may it continue. And we love to just speak to people in the community. And then, going back to this year, I mean, it's been tough, and we get that job seekers are really struggling. There's been people out of work for many months. We get the companies are struggling; they're not, winning projects, and we fully appreciate that it's been, some people have had great years, don't get me wrong, but I think probably on the majority, most people would say it's not been their greatest year of their life economically, but. Well done. Everyone was sticking with it, I guess, is the message.
We made it through.
Everyone made it through. We're towards the end of the year. Everyone deserves a rest over Christmas and New Year, and there are positive signs going into 2025. So keep the faith, I suppose, the message I would give everyone going into the holidays.
Absolutely. And Nico, from your perspective, how would you summarise it?
So if I was saying it in one word, it'd probably be sticky. Sticky in the sense of it's been like walking through treacle.
Okay.
So it's been it's definitely had its difficult moments. There's been similar to as Alex has said, there's been opportune or times where it has been a bit more difficult. However, I think the difference between obviously the US or the North American side and European side is it feels like we're maybe slightly ahead of the curve. In the sense of we had an election that was a couple of months earlier, and the market in turn has seemed to turn a little bit earlier. There is still a lot of issues and slightly slower movement in the market than we're used to, but the sign and the things are turning. So we're expecting that to really accelerate into the next year and hoping for a very positive 25.
Absolutely. I mean, just to add to that, I think it's been all over, as you can tell from both your responses. It hasn't just been UK and Europe. It hasn't just been US. The market as a whole, so many things. I think you touched on a really good point there is all the elections and everything politically going on. It does have such a big impact that we can't help. We've got to ride through that wave, and it was quite a big bloody wave all year. But I think, I definitely think we're coming to the end of it. But just so for the UK, have you sort of seen any trends that have happened this year? I think I can think of a very immediate one, but from your perspective, what have you seen sort of has been the common trend or theme?
So there has been continued activity. It has not been to the extent that we are used to or we would like to have expected. And we thought maybe at the beginning of the year where we thought things were going to go. So there has still been movement and companies are hiring. However, one thing that really stands out, and I don't know if it's the same thing that you're referring to, is that companies have taken longer to go through the process. I think because there is an increase of availability with potential candidates, companies have had a bit more time to run through their processes. So whereas before you might expect a process to be 1 to 2 weeks, sometimes it can be taking, up to a month or longer on occasion, which, it's a very difficult situation, because it's ultimately your process is a representation of the business. So one thing I would always encourage is, regardless of what the market is like, the quicker that you can move, the better talent you will be able to secure. So I think that's one of the big things is the process is taking longer, or even having extra steps as well. So that's probably from my side.
No, that was a good one, actually. I was thinking of something different, and I think I was going to touch upon that. I think one of the biggest trends this year for the UK specifically, it'll be interesting to know how it's been your side, but everyone sort of wanted senior people.
Yeah.
There hasn't really been many junior roles, maybe some mid-level, but even so, it wasn't as many as the amount of senior roles that were coming through. I think that's been quite a big thing, because it's been a really tough market for graduates specifically. I think a lot of people with a passion who want to get into the dynamics industry with little industry experience, and there just hasn't been that wiggle room for people to get in this year. Budgets have been tighter, hence why they haven't been able to train people up, because they haven't got the time. Everyone's sort of working towards getting those projects signed off, because it's been such a sticky year for everyone. Like they've had to go through the treacle to get the projects over the line. But have you found it
similar thing. I mean, I think we've got to look at what it's interesting to think, is it, like, what companies have done well this year. I think that's a really good thing, and it's really hard to put, because a lot of the large enterprise companies that we deal with in the US have been huge layoffs, and I thought the layoffs would stop in 2023 at some point, but still going. I was speaking to a few companies last week, still making mass layoffs, hundreds, thousands of people, and you think, customers, right? So they're a bit different. They go through these huge waves where they hire thousands, fire thousands, and that's that's how they work, right? But the smaller SMB companies, I guess the ones that have done really well, the ones that have really looked after their staff, train them well. I think the ones that have got quite a diverse set of skills. So where they have, I say kind of like the European model almost, where they're in the US traditionally, it's you are a functional consultant, or you're a developer, or you're an X, or you're Y. But in the European market, it tends to be there's a bit more mixture of skills. And actually, the companies that seem to have done really well are the companies that have a mixture of skills.
Yeah.
Because their individuals are they're more resilient. They're ready for the market to shift a bit. And I think that's what we've seen from Dynamics partner. I mean, end users, it varies from company to company. I get that, but the partners, I think, have done really well. Are the ones that got really highly skilled and highly engaged workforce that really are passionate about their organization, and where the company is also passionate about their employees.
Yeah.
And I think the small to mid-sized companies have fared better than the enterprise ones.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But it has been tough for everyone. And hey, hopefully everyone wants to buy lots next year.
Yeah. Those
will
projects get over the
happen.
line. I think it will happen. And I was just going to touch upon the facts of the type of businesses, because obviously we've got the end users, we've got the ISVs, and we've got partners. In the UK, this year has predominantly been partner based, and I think the reason for that has been end users want to take a cut back on their expenses on external recruitment agencies, I would say. And also because you're not getting continuous sort of flows of projects, it's all a lot of money in house, isn't it? That they're budgeting on. So, what do we think for next year?
Yeah, I think, like you say, a lot of our business has been on the partner side this year, and there has definitely been a slightly slower uptake on the end user side. I think part of that was having a conversation with someone the other day, and they are seeing a bit more of an increase in the reliance on the partner, because you can almost have a pay-as-you-go model, rather than having someone that you're paying, 2 or 3 people internally on a full-time salary. Yes, maybe in the long term it can cost more, but it allows them to pick up, on the skills as and when they need. So it's a little bit more pay-as-you-go, so it gives them a bit more protection. So that was a conversation I had the other day. But moving into next year, which was your actual question.
No, you explained that better than
yeah,
I did.
it was your actual question. I think we'll see a lot more movement on the end user side. There's already been a lot more activity from the conversations we're having with partners. More and more of the end users are now in a position where they are going to be investing, release or signing off budgets for new projects. So in turn, as an end user's going through a project, they'll want to have some internal expertise and internal resource. So I do expect that to change, rather than it just being sort of BAU work. There'll be new projects, hence more increase in demand for talent.
For sure. I mean, I just had that call with a client just now who's an end user, and they're talking of projects next year. So yeah. I do hope, because it's weird actually. I've spoken to a lot of candidates recently. When I first joined, I'd say a lot of people always want to say, I want to go into a partner. But I've had a lot more conversations with people saying they want to go into an end user and that's their preference.
Yeah.
And then we haven't really had many of those opportunities come in.
Yeah.
I do find that quite interesting, the candidate market, but hopefully those opportunities for next year.
I think people see that as, because work for an end user, I guess perhaps is down to stability. One of the things I think we've seen this year and last year as well is that before, people might have put job security as not very high on their agenda. Oh, it's fine, the market's really good, I'll just look for another job.
Easily
no problem. I'll find new opportunities. But now people look at it, particularly people who have gone through a struggle, and they're actually number one thing, job security. So I guess the message that we should be giving to companies is, when you're interviewing people, think about what people are going to think about. Job security is going to be really important. So if you're a partner, talk about your pipeline. Don't have to give names of companies you're going to win, but talk about what projects you got. Talk about the stability you've had in your company. Talk, if you've made no layoffs, talk about that. That's a sell.
Yeah.
You know, that's a really good thing to say to people. Candidates will love that. And candidates as well, the message to them, I guess, is like, be ready, do your research.
Yeah.
How stable is that company? You know, whether you can or not, but, you know, look at their books. You know, what projects have they got coming up? Like, are they in a good position to keep you there for a few years? Because I think people are starting to look at that again, going, it's been so difficult. And psychologically, I think, I don't want to do that again. I want to work for a company. I want to be there for years.
Yeah. And
it's a great time to hire people because people have that mentality. You know, people are back in the mentality of thinking, I want to stay somewhere. I want to be on a journey with a company. I think it's really important that companies know to give that message, and candidates just do your research, because it will help. You know, that's what mainly people are thinking about.
Yeah, I think that's been quite a key difference in our mindset as recruiters as well, though. It's like when we're onboarding a new client, or a client that maybe we've had for years, but we're now having to pose that question of, what is your pipeline looking like? Like, what is your goals? What's your outlook? Because it is a question we now get asked quite a lot of from candidates because of that stability. But we touched upon, obviously, people nowadays don't want to have to go through that job search again because the market has been a bit hit and miss nowadays. And it comes on to the topic of contractors, and we definitely this year seen a big uptake of contractors giving us a call, wanting to go back into a permanent role, which is completely fair enough, because I think we can all safely say the contract market this year is a bit.
Yeah. Why is that? What do you think is the reasons?
Love that with a question. What do you think?
Hi me. I don't know. I think there's a variety of reasons, and it always comes back to the economy and the demand for projects. You know, because a lot of the BAU work, which we're seeing a lot more of rather than new projects this year, isn't necessarily the type of work that a contractor will cover. I think I was a bit surprised in a way, because equally when the economy is struggling or there's lack of projects, the ability, you know, the positive thing with the contractor is you can pick them up for a short term rather than having a full-time commitment. So I did think there was maybe going to be more than there has been, but I think it's been really well documented across the board. You know, not just in the UK, it's been US, it's been European wide. Everywhere seems to have really struggled on that side of things. I think naturally with a partner, they're always wanting permanent resource because they're looking to build a team and build on their skill set and that type of thing. So always the partner channel has been a preference on the permanent side. And I guess down to that lack of projects, probably the lack of projects on the end user side, there's just not been that demand or that need.
Changes in IR35 this year as well. That had a bit of an impact.
Yeah, which is obviously not a US thing. It's more on our side.
Yeah.
So very much.
They change it.
Yeah.
Last year,
Last year.
maybe even the year before now.
Surely not.
It's within the last couple of years anyway, which has obviously had a much, huge impact on the UK and the contracting market.
We could see if they're now, because they've increased national insurance, haven't they?
Yeah.
In the UK. So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see if, because obviously that mainly falls on the employer. So I wonder if that will mean get more contractors. Because you don't, suddenly everything's going to become more expensive to have someone on your books, basically.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
We're interested to see what that was with that.
Yeah, and I think we'll get an understanding of how that's going to impact the market pretty quickly into the new year. I mean, at the moment, fingers crossed, touch wood, it hasn't had much of an impact. If anything, the market.
Oh, you're in?
Yeah, it is wood, but also no one can see what we're no one can see that we're touching the wooden table. Yeah, I mean, at the moment, it doesn't seem to have had an impact. The conversations that we've been having with clients, they haven't raised it as a concern as of yet, but that's because maybe they haven't actually seen the impact yet directly. When you start noticing it, then it's potentially going to become more of an issue. So I think that the next sort of 3-6 months, we'll start to get a better understanding or a better picture of that side of things.
Yeah,
I hope so, because there are so many contractors looking for work at the moment. It's so hard trying to say, there's so many people in right now. You just obviously want to help them, and it is hard because if we're being very truthful here, we do get the clients. I don't know if it's the same in the US that say they would prefer someone from a permanent background into a permanent job rather than a contractor, because it's that risk of, if a contract comes along, are they then going to jump to that? And it's a really hard in between at the moment, I would say, because there are going to be quite a few more people wanting to go into a permanent role for this stability.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's just finding that balance now and what's going to happen, really.
Yeah, which I think, I suppose, for contract, if you're a contractor, you do, really want to go full time. So I think it's really important to have your message really clear when you're interviewing as to why that is, because otherwise, like you say, that's exactly the problem. As a company, there's potential red flags, and you just need to counteract them. So you need to be able to say, look, this is why I want to go full time because of X, Y, Z, and at least then you've got, you can make a case, and just make sure when you say those reasons, you're enthusiastic about it, sound convincing, standard stuff, do your research on the company. I really want to work for you because of this. Love to work full time because you've got loads of awards, etc. Whatever it might be. But really important to get that message right if you really seriously want to go full time.
Yeah, for sure. I do hope contract market picks up next year, though. I'm not making any prediction on that one personally because I think I'll get it wrong. But
I don't think it can get any worse.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
This is true.
I mean,
this is true.
I don't think it can.
My poll the other, I think it was last week actually, I said about the contract market and whether people think it will get better, stay the same, or worse. Oh, yeah. And there was not much in either of them, was it? It was 41, 30 something and 20 something % all in them. And so I thought even the contractors don't know, so we aren't going to know. So no predictions there as of yet, but we'll keep you posted. But let's talk about the technologies. Let's break it down. What one boomed for you this year? What was the best one in a bad market?
So the BC's done well.
Yeah.
Better. No, I think BC sold well. I can't remember the stat. Microsoft saying that 60% year-on-year growth in BC, F&O and CE were pretty plateaued, and Power Platform's done quite well as well.
Yeah,
my very brief. I don't know if you guys see the same in Europe, but
for sure.
Yeah, very much so. I think BC has far, outweighed the sort of work that we've been doing in comparison to F&O, definitely, and then CRM has sort of sat sort of in the middle somewhere. I think a big part of that is that we're seeing more and more functionality in Business Central. So we've had a number of clients that have got projects from old AX customers who are now looking to move to Business Central rather than F&O.
Yeah.
Because the functionality is improved. It can now handle multi-currency, multi-location, and it's cheaper to implement, it's faster to implement, licensing is cheaper. So there's been those businesses that are sort of on the cusp are now able to go to Business Central rather than F&O. So that, I think, has won a lot of projects.
Yeah, that isn't cheap, isn't it?
As well as obviously GP being it's being wrote
Yeah.
out, right? Yeah.
It's been canned.
Yeah.
Binned off.
Binned off.
No longer supported.
Yeah, it's reaching end of life.
There we
Yeah.
go. Obviously, I think that's having an impact and will continue to have an impact. I think it's a hot topic in America at the moment, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of GP customers who are, to be fair, not necessarily going to go to Business Central. They might do,
Yeah.
but there's some of them may say they're annoyed with Microsoft for ending it, so they won't necessarily be loyal to Microsoft.
Yeah.
Some will, and the product Business Central is great, but some customers might think, well, hang on, we had a perfectly good system. You've turned it off.
Yeah.
Why should I give you more money to get another license with Microsoft?
Yeah.
So we've had some customers that are looking at other products like Acumatica and Sage and other ERP products. But I still think, generally they will go to Business Central.
Yeah.
But it's not a given. But yes, I think that is the big play and that's why Business Central should be fine for the next sort of 5 years or so, because they will all move to that. And again, you're right, that enterprise side is tricky. But it's always the one that goes first and comes back sort of first. But kind of like, when it comes back in a boom.
Yeah, for sure.
And it comes back massive. But when it goes, it really crashes. Whereas a smaller product can kind of be okay.
Yeah.
But the enterprise stuff sees huge uptick and then huge losses straight away. So it'd be really interesting to see what happens. Obviously, hopefully the former, and it's huge boom and everyone's happy. And what do you do?
Yeah, that would be ideal. And do you reckon is FO going to continue to maybe stay a bit quiet? Do you reckon if more businesses are thinking about taking up BC or converting over?
I don't think it will stay quiet. We're already having. Yeah, I think everyone likes to hear. Yeah, no, we've already started to see a little bit of activity. Yeah. We've had a few more roles being released to us recently on the F&O side from the partner channel. Yeah. And that's down to pipeline. So they've got a pipeline of projects due to kick off from sort of January onwards. And then there has also been a real increase in the sales side of things as well, and pre-sales, which again, in turn means that there is more projects in the pipeline. I know I've said that.
Hiring salespeople.
Yeah. Sales, pre-sales, and consultants on the delivery side. So they're at the point of projects about to kick off from earlier in the new year. So expected to change. I think the first quarter it will ease in, and then I think from sort of Q2 is where we'll really see an acceleration on that side.
Everyone was saying survive until 25. We've survived, but I'm in
we've still got 2.5 weeks yet.
Maybe, we'll make it.
Well, hopefully it's thrive in 25 then, right?
Yeah, I like that.
I hope so. I do agree though. I think quarter one still isn't going to be like party poppers and excitement, but I think it's going to build up to that excitement where quarter two hits and hopefully everyone's happy, it's booming.
The weather starts to get better.
Oh, yeah.
The sun comes out.
That's
what we're looking
Interest
for.
rates are like 0%.
Yeah. No, because I've just actually
interest-free
signed my
mortgage.
So that would be a bit rich if they went down. Hang on, I'll do remortgage before I'll be fine. But in terms of, we touched upon sales, so it's just reminding me about the type of roles that have either been quiet or boomed. Now, I think it's safe to say sales, the majority of the year, has been pretty deadbeat. We'll get onto it rising as well, but I'd say my standout one for the UK and Europe again, project managers. They have had a tough year. I honestly feel for you. One of my friends, candidate who I got to know very well, looking for ages and ages, and I felt so hopeless because I was just like, in the end, I was sending him leads that, I didn't even work with the client, but I was like, I've seen this, like trying to apply for this.
That's good,
You just feel so.
Yeah, it's been tough.
It's been awful for PMs, I think, and everything is crossing my body to hope that next year is a better year for you guys. Have you sort of seen any other roles that you think were a bit quieter or really loud this year?
Yeah, well, so project managers, of course, like you suggested, and I guess that just sort of circles back round to the project and the lack thereof, new projects. Obviously, with consultants, there's still small bits of work with clients that can be done, so they can be kept busy in that sense. Project managers, you tend to need to have a bit of a meaty project to get involved with. So that's definitely right on that side, and also on the development side, we really started to see a slowdown on companies hiring developers, and I think that's just the direction that the market is going in. Exactly. You know, there's that element. There's also well, I mean, conversations that we're having with partners where they've said they traditionally used to be maybe 50-50 developers consultants. It's now 80% consultancy and only 20% developers. Obviously that will vary from business to business, because if you're building extensions or apps and things, you'll still need some development resource, but the market is changing. So to do your sort of standard implementations, you don't necessarily need as much customization or development work as maybe you did in the past. So that's just part of the direction I think that Microsoft and Dynamics 365 is going.
So absolutely.
So, they've got a bit of a problem, haven't they? So developers have got a bit of a perfect storm of, you've got outsourcing.
Yeah.
The product doesn't need as much coding.
Yeah.
And you've got AI that unfortunately can also do a lot of the grunt work of coding. It's not perfect, but it can do it.
Yeah.
So again, I guess the message to developers is stick with it. I don't know, what do you reckon? Do you reckon they've got to upskill, like do more like client face? It's really difficult to know, because it's really hard, because developers obviously they enjoy their job, like they enjoy the technical aspect. So I just think the market's shifting slightly, so it's just worth thinking about whether, if you are a developer, whether you would need to, I don't know the answer, but maybe become a little bit more client facing, or work more closely with customers that improve your business analysis skills, requirements gathering.
Yeah,
like these sorts of things are just worth thinking about.
I think we're going to be in that weird stage with it for maybe another year or two with developers. I think companies are always going to need at least a techie person. I think there's always going to be a need for someone who can do code and everything. I think it's always handy to have that type of person. But I think as we sort of grow the industry and we've got more juniors coming in, you are going to be low code, no code. And that's sort of the way forwards it's going to be. I think there will be a lot more openings for those type of roles.
Yeah.
So I think there will still be the need for the techie devs who want to keep it old school and have all the training to do so. But it's just going to be a bit more competitive as the years go on, I think. And as you said, you might just have to maybe expand on a couple of those skills to stay a bit more competitive. But they are going to have to adapt, I think.
Yeah. I think we'll see, we'll see at partners, I think we'll see like a couple of technical architects and then development teams either outside of the country, or they'll have a few developers, but like we said, like not to the scale of what it was before. So you'll have and then end users, I don't know, it depends whether they've got a development license. They might have a couple of people doing coding, or they might just rely on the partner. If the partner's got cheaper rates and they've outsourced it, all our AI is doing most of it, then they might, it might be not cost effective for an end user to have it in. I don't know. It's interesting. It varies from company to company, but it's definitely interesting times out there for developers.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing that maybe if you're a developer and you're looking at a new role, it might be worth, considering the ISV route, or considering other partners that, yes, they do their B2C implementations or F&O or CE, but also that do build extensions or other products as well, because that's where you will be able to continue to get involved in the coding side.
True.
So maybe if going through an interview process or exploring roles, ask the question, what other products do they develop? What other extensions are they looking to build? What's their long-term plans? Because that's where you'll potentially still have a lot of dev work required.
Great. And has it differed in the US in terms of those quieter roles or booming roles?
Fairly similar, to be fair. So we've seen, implementation, like we both said, implementation consultants, they've been steady. They've been pretty good in the US as well. Support, the teams, there hasn't been much turnover. The support teams have kind of stayed as they are.
Yeah.
Again, we've had a market which has been slightly dipped, so candidates or employees aren't jumping up and down to move jobs because they're worried about the job. They're not going, oh yes, I'm going to move, because if they're in a stable job, they're staying there.
Yeah.
So we're not seeing as many people go. Whereas a couple of years ago, everyone's going, oh, I'll move for a new opportunity, it'll be fine, there'll be thousands of jobs forever, so I'll just keep moving. That's changed slightly. So yeah, in terms of roles, no, it's pretty much the same. Yeah, we've seen PMs low, developers low, consultants good, and then pretty much the same. We're seeing sales and pre-sales coming back.
Yeah.
And again, like the technical, maybe developers need to be thinking, well, actually, I'm a very good developer and I can speak to customers. But like a technical pre-sales person, always a very highly sought after position. So
for sure,
if that's something that you've been on a few demos and you've enjoyed, I would perhaps be talking to your current employer and saying, can I do more of that? Because that will stand you in good stead for the rest of your career. So
absolutely,
just give yourself different routes potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been good. And then I don't know if you've seen this, but we've seen it in the US. Like, we're really interested to see what employers are doing at the moment. And you've probably seen it as well. Employers are being really fussy or picky about who they want.
Yeah.
I did a post because it's really interesting.
I saw it.
Yeah.
I know, yeah.
I haven't seen this.
I was a post about, I was thinking some trends I've seen. And so companies in the US, this is a bit, and obviously I'm from the UK, so I'm used to an environment where there's like lots of social security, like all that kind of thing. And in the US, companies can lay off thousands of people with an email, right? Elon Musk can send an email to half of Twitter, that's it, they're gone. So, but there's like this thing now about tenure, and it's like, oh, you have to have really good tenure. But then I feel a little bit sorry for the people looking for work, because it's like the employer is allowed to just fire thousands of people. And then you get really selective about, oh, well, but you must have really good tenure.
Yeah.
It's a bit harsh. I get it. It's kind of the way it is. And, the economy goes up and down. But it feels a little bit difficult for job seekers when they're at the mercy of an email firing, which I know doesn't happen so much in the UK. You've got, a bit harder to do that kind of thing. But it's just an interesting thing that we've seen recently.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it completely makes sense. And I think
what else have you seen in the UK? Have you seen any other hiring? What are hiring? Because this would be good for candidates, though, wouldn't it? Like what are hiring managers looking for?
I think Lucy touched on it at the start about the level of candidate that they're currently looking for, because at the moment, because of the market how it has been, is employers want someone that is ticking maybe before you 60-70% they would look at. They're now needing to be 80 to 90%. There's not as much flexibility around the expectations of a client, because they need someone that's going to come in and tomorrow they're going to be billable, and make the business money, because it's been difficult for everyone, businesses, employers, employees. So the level of expectation has been, which is fine, but it's been much, much higher than maybe traditionally you would expect. Whereas, so it's much harder for people looking to take maybe the next step in their career. Yeah. It's almost like, to a certain degree, taking a bit of a sidestep.
Yeah, that's very true. And I'm just thinking from a client's perspective, which might go well in our favour next year. You touched upon it. There isn't much flow in the candidate market because people are a bit reluctant or nervous to move. We're really at the moment having to target those passive candidates. We're really having to dive into them, and that's something some businesses won't have time for. And what I potentially could see for us, new business has been difficult. Sales as a whole, from every perspective, client, us, everything has been difficult. But I personally think from a recruitment perspective, there will be more businesses willing to work with people like us for these specialist roles, because you need time and you need the approaches and strategy to tap into those passive candidates. And I think that's going to stay for at least another half of the year, in terms of there not being as much movement.
Yeah.
And what I'm hoping for everyone business-wise is these projects come in thick and fast. You're rushed off your feet.
Yeah.
You're having to do all of that.
Not hoping they will be.
Well, they will. Yeah. Positivity.
Yeah,
exactly.
And, you know, for us, I think it could be a good thing. I obviously don't want to make it fully about us as recruiters, but I think it is, things are going to change, and I think it's going to benefit everyone in the cycle.
Yeah.
Is how I feel, I think. But on about 2025, I mean,
just one thing very quickly,
okay.
just sort of flipping it over on the candidate from the candidate
no.
perspective. One thing that we have seen this year as well is, and I get it, the thought process behind it is that candidates are asking for significant uplifts on salaries.
Oh,
Their expectations, like, you know, 20 grand, 30 grand pay rises. And if that's the reason that you're moving, now is not the time for that. No. You know, if it's a money motivated motivated move, now is not the time for that. You know, it's the market is not in that position. If it was 2 years ago, you know, 2-3 years ago, 2022, then it's a completely different story. But now, if it's purely for 20 grand pay rise, it's just not available at the moment. That's just not where the market's at.
I think it's worth saying from that point though, the salaries are not rubbish that are out there. I think just everyone got so used to them going that it's plateaued. It's plateaued at a good rate though. So I think we've had multiple conversations even in the week about money motivated moves. Money is a good motivation to move within reason, and I think that's very key to say. I said this on the Sprint Zero podcast I filmed. Whatever you call it. And I did that. I'll always push back on my candidates who will say, "Oh, I'll take a 10k pay cut or something," because I'm like, in this economy nowadays, and everything's bloody expensive. Like, let's think about this reasonably. Money is important. We need to factor that in.
Yeah.
But the 30k increases are not. They're just not going to happen, really, unfortunately. And we've pushed back on a few candidates and said, there's any other issues internally which could solve you staying there. Have those conversations with your line manager. Talk about if there's any flexibility for a pay rise and justify why you think you should be getting higher money. Have those conversations internally, because the market isn't going to support such a big money move if that's your only thing. Yeah. Which I think is massive. So
I think that's a good point. And use us as an excuse if you want. So, do you want to pay a recruitment fee? You know, do you want to keep me?
Yeah.
It's not a bad line, right? I think, you know, if you want to, and I think you're right. I mean, I get, the problem is, I guess, still, cost of living is really high. So I get it as a candidate. You think, what's the point of moving for 5x grand? It's going to be nothing by the time I've got tax, fuel bills through the roof. So you think, what's the point? But you just got to consider that the businesses are also in the same position. So you're both completely right. Like, don't put it down to money. If you know, money is your sole motivator and driver, I'd say it's not the greatest time to look. Yeah. But there's not that much out there where they're just going to pay loads of money.
Would be nice.
It'd be nice. It was like that maybe a couple of years ago, but this year maybe just not the case. I think definitely you want to be looking at other factors that are important to you, like we said earlier, like job security, opportunity, you know, what projects have got, all that kind of stuff is really important. Yeah. But money is great. So,
and the total package as well these days. Companies are more conscious of their total package. Before, all they cared about was salary necessarily. That was their main focus. Whereas now it's the total package as well. So that's useful for employers to think about as well, because they do need to make sure they're competitive in the market. And it doesn't always have to be something that costs, you know, thousands of pounds or thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
It's you know, the flexibility, the remote working or hybrid sort of elements, which don't necessarily cost much to a business. So just things to think about.
Really good point. So, I mean, I know we said Mystic Megs aren't gonna appear, but you know, if we were to sort of put any prediction on 2025 or a few bullet points as to what we think is going to happen, whether it be technologies, roles,
plan for the worst and hope for the best.
Fair enough.
I would say that I don't know what's going on. Right, no one does. But
if we did, we wouldn't be sitting here. We'd be on a beach somewhere.
We'll be betting on the Grand National. But I think that this year's been tough, right? So I think this year, I really am hopeful that it won't be as tough. We have seen on the last few months that there's been more job flow, more job postings, both sides, UK and Europe and US. So it feels like we're getting there. Interest rates, I feel, are not going to. They are what they are now. I think everyone's getting used to it. Everyone's getting used to the idea that this is what life costs.
Yeah.
This is what interest rates are going to be. They're not going to change that. We're not going to have such vast inflation and going down. I think inflation now will stay steady, whether it's at 2.5% or 3.5%. It'll probably be around that figure. Hopefully, but who knows? But I think we've had such a trial of it with all of that I just feel like if it happens again, we'll all be broken. So I think economies and very intelligent economists that are more clever than me it will hopefully happen that way. But who knows what's going to happen with socioeconomic factors and wars, and I can't predict it. But I would think that job seekers stick with it.
Yeah.
If you can upskill. Think about what your job might look like in 2 years or 3 years, and is your job still going to be there, or is your job going to be the same as it is now? What's going to change about, like, for us, we need to think what's going to change about recruitment, right? We have to adapt. Like, everyone has to adapt. Adaptability is a really key thing to think about. How can I adapt to what might happen? And do some research, see what will happen. And employers, again, it's the same thing. How do we adapt? How do we thrive in these conditions? Assume that it's going to be bad. Hope it's better. Great. But how do we adapt? How do we pitch to our customers? How do we add value? Adding value, I think everyone needs to think about. How do I add value to a company? How do I add value to a customer?
Yeah.
And if you think about that, then you'll do well.
Yeah. Solid, I like that. Try and top that.
So just to echo what he said. Yeah, ditto. No, another thing as well is obviously just think about AI.
We almost went.
I know, but I can't not.
Do it otherwise.
We can't not. Look, if you're like you were saying, like Alex was saying, if you're looking, to think about 2 years' time, 3 years' time, well, AI is just starting now, really starting to boom. Power Platform, AI, Copilot, all of that. If you're looking at upskilling, trying to get ahead of the competition, that's where you need to be. That's where you need to be investing your time, training, learning, and it will just give you a sort of forward step ahead of some of the competition in the market. So that would be my advice. Very good.
And I'm just going to add to that because that was going to be my point if it came to me and it hadn't been said, because we had to mention it at some point, didn't we? We had to. But my God, since it's been out this year, well, it's not been out this year, it's been out before, but since it's become highly relevant this year and the talk of the town, I think every single time we've been to an event, there's always been something new about it, or another release about it, or like we went to the most recent one, and agentic agents are now coming into things, and it's everywhere. And honestly, it's going to keep your brain young, I'll tell you that, because you're going to constantly be learning. And I just think it's so key that since these have become so relevant, and they're going to continue to do so, you should be putting the time and effort in to even have an understanding of all of these new technologies that are just,
embrace it. Don't be scared of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's what you've got to do, I think.
I personally think next year, going to call it, BC is going to obviously remain, it's always quite hot tech. I'm waiting for the king of Power Platform just to rise up above everything.
Yeah.
I hope that happens.
Power Platform is booming, and it will continue to do so for sure.
But I do think it's going to integrate a lot more into job specs for BC, etc. BC with a bit of Power Platform knowledge.
We're starting to see it more and more.
A little bit, and I know I always bring Andy Wingate into this, but love the guy. But for him, do you remember his presentation at Scottish Summit?
I wasn't at that one.
Who was it? Me and Foz, I think, came to Andy's session, and he was saying obviously he's always been BC. He is, such a BC person, and now he's started spreading his wings a little bit into Power Platform, and it's completely foreign to him. but he's embracing it.
Yeah.
And I think he knows, and I think a lot of people are becoming more aware now that it is going to be a skill set that's going to be a bit more desirable alongside a core program like BC. We know it comes, I don't know how much see, but I think we're going to see that a lot more in job search.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not something to be scared of, like you say. Like, new technology means more opportunity. So all it means is that there's going to be more projects. People are going to need to know what's going on with it. You're going to see a lot of people really. Yeah, I think you'll see an uptrend in a lot of like business analysis. Like, what can AI do for this business? You know, what are my business working like? Is my data good enough to have an AI system in it? Anyway, if your data's not up to scratch, AI can't do much.
Yeah.
Your data's rubbish. What can your AI? The AI thrives off the data that the business has. So if your data isn't sorted, don't worry about AI.
Yeah.
Way behind. So
even us as a business, we're a recruitment agency, and I think Rob tries to shout and scream and get us all to shout and scream it. To remind everyone, we are users of Dynamics 365. We use the system. We know what it is. We've got CE and BC, CE and BC. And we have got Power Platform integrated. And we sit down. We're having to think, right, how are we going to use AI and Copilot in our processes? We sit down most Fridays, don't we? And we talk about the new things that are coming out. What can we do to streamline our processes? And, like, you know, it's everywhere. No escaping it.
I think it was Lewis that said in your podcast, it's Copilot, not Autopilot.
Yes.
So it's just
there.
I
watched
them. Don't worry. It was there. It's there to support you, not to take your job or to take to take away your day-to-day work. So use it as a support. There we go.
Good.
Well, I think we've have we covered everything? I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I think we covered
the roles. Contractor.
The
Christmas
jumpers. Year ahead.
Jumpers.
This one's not awful.
Yeah, yours quite cute. I like the gingerbread.
Thanks.
But I just want to finish on the note, just to say that this year's been really eye-opening for us as a company about community, and I think one thing that we've learned is now we've got the COVID out the way and things coming back to normality. My advice to everyone that's watching is start getting back to those events. Go, even if they're online. Community has been the biggest realization for me this year. I think I wouldn't be doing this podcast without it. I wouldn't have learned half the stuff I know I can talk about today without the community. Get involved. And on that note, I just want to re-highlight the fact that this podcast this year, we never expected it to sort of come to where it is today, really. It just started as a little idea to sort of escape a bit of the craziness of recruitment, to be honest. And we've honestly had such phenomenal guests. The fact that we're even getting people from the US, big names as well, big names in the community.
Yeah, we're getting some
Nico Roussos.
Yeah. You're number one big
number one fan, number one actor.
Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely. But, I think it's just been so nice because even so, I remember, Kristen, we didn't know her. We spoke to her and we got her on the podcast, and then you went to America to one of the summits, and then you were able to meet her in person.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
I think it's just opened so many nice little relationships.
It's been amazing. It's just lovely to speak to people that are passionate about what they do. I think it's really we love having people on because they're so enthusiastic.
Yeah.
We let them talk about whatever you want to talk about, right? Within reason, yeah. Because it just makes for a really enjoyable conversation. We do the podcast, and me and Luke's always saying afterwards how much we love them, and we just always have a smile on our face because we've let someone have a platform and we've learned something.
I always learn
every time.
Power platform.
Yeah.
Here all day, huh?
I am here all day. Yeah.
Cracker jokes, right?
It's Christmas. It's a cracker joke. We're allowed them. Yeah.
But yes, no, it's been absolutely brilliant, and long may it continue into 2025. And thank you everyone for coming on. It's been, and thank you Lucy for kind of keeping it all going, and you're much better than me at keeping it on track. So I will, really done an amazing job with it, and it's been fantastic. And like Lou said, we've got loads of guests, and we just if you want to be involved in it, please reach out to either Lucy or myself, and we'll make sure that you get a chance to speak about a topic that you're really interested in.
Or our glamorous assistant here who
And
loves
Nico
good
as well.
feature. I'm sure you'll be on it a lot more next year anyway.
Yeah, we'll maybe take it on a tour somehow. I don't know. We'll work
Keep it
out.
up with conspicuous.
On tour. There we go. Road trip.
Glastonbury first, right?
Yeah, there we go. I didn't get a ticket.
Edinburgh
No.
Fringe Festival. We'll go.
Edinburgh Fringe, yeah.
No,
Coachella.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I've always wanted to go. But yeah, I hope you guys have all found it really interesting. I mean, I think it's made me come to a lot of realizations, even just talking about this year. It feels quite nice to talk about what's gone on, and you know,
Bit of therapy.
yeah, it feels, yeah, I'm offloading. Yeah, thanks guys, thanks for supporting us.
Yeah.
But yeah, I genuinely have enjoyed filming this and just being able to talk about what we've seen, and hope you guys find it useful, interesting. We're basing it off what we've seen, by the way, and from our clients, and it is subjective to our workplace. But I think from talks, it has been quite consistent across the board in the UK, Europe, and US. But you know, we're open to hearing anyone's thoughts. If you need any sort of further questions answered, or want to ask us anything, anything. I don't know what I was going to say, but reach out to us. All of us are happy to sort of answer questions. And all I do want to say is obviously just next year, just if as many people who watch this, if you do like it, please let us know your thoughts. Any feedback on the podcast is really, truly welcomed. If you want to share it to your feed, we'd love love the appreciation for that side of things. But yeah, we're always looking to improve it and what you guys want to hear or get from it. But yeah, I think, you know, we'll see you all in 25.
Yeah, see you in 25. Follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Spotify.
Yeah.
And the only thing we haven't done, which we do ask all our guests, maybe we should do, is if you weren't doing recruitment, this is our like standard question, right, at the end of everything. So we'll start with Nico. So if we weren't doing, and I know you love recruitment, so obviously that's fine. But if you weren't, what would you be doing? What would be your dream job?
I think I would obviously be playing up front for Tottenham and Greece.
Nice.
Yeah, number 9, star striker. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So like a Berbatov kind of figure, or
yeah, maybe a mix between Berbatov and Defoe, I reckon.
Yeah.
Who?
Could have picked better team.
No, Tottenham. Tottenham all day.
Not
All day.
Tottenham.
So, yeah.
What would you do?
I've been thinking about this recently. I reckon I'd be like a sports journalist or something, like not what's a sports presenter, or like people that interview sports people after.
Yeah.
Or do you know? I think I'd do that. That's only a recent thing though. Yeah, young Lucy. Oh, she would have been doing anything.
You'd be good at that.
Yeah, I reckon so.
Yeah, I reckon you're well good at that.
Yeah,
What about you?
Postman.
Postman. Oh yeah, I knew that. I did know that.
100%.
I knew that.
Yeah, it's not.
You kind of suit a postman.
I know.
He's got his red.
I got my red. I could deliver Christmas cards.
Yeah.
It'd be good. We're outside in my shorts.
Plus, he always delivers.
Yeah. Although he didn't quite deliver, because the question we were meant to do was meant to be Christmas themed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll save that for next year.
Yeah, next year.
Next year.
But yes, thank you guys if you've lasted this long, because it's 50 odd minutes, a long one. But from us and the team at Conspicuous, we just want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you all.
Yeah.
And we'll see you in 25 with incredible clients, roles, and more fantastic podcasts, basically.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.